Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the very first Spark Innovation webinar in our Reimagine July series. Thank you so much for joining us after a long holiday weekend. We hope everyone had a lot of relaxing and restful days, very well deserved after this year. My name is Tanya Butler, and I'm a fellow in the Office of the Governor, and I get the great honor of working with the State Department of Education with everything related to ARP-ESSER, which is what brings you here today. Spark Innovation is a chance to give you some inspiration and some guidance on how you might want to use your ARP-ESSER funding. Just as a reminder, I know this date is probably on all of your calendars. August 16th is the day that the application is due back to us. And we're hoping that these 30-minute lunch and learn sessions are going to give you some direction, some inspiration, and some ideas on how you might be planning as a district. Today, I'm joined with some of my colleagues from SDE who will introduce themselves quickly, and then we're actually going to sit in the background and just support any questions you might have. Please feel free to put them into the chat box, and then we'll turn it over to our colleagues who work at the Office of Workforce Strategy here at the State Department of Connecticut. So I'll turn it to Maddie and Keith to introduce themselves, and then we'll just get started. As a reminder, this is being recorded and will be posted on the website as well, but I'll hand it off to Keith.
Hello, everybody. My name is Keith Norton. I'm the Chief Strategic Planning Officer for the State Department of Education, and we're excited to present you with these opportunities today and answer any questions you might have either today or in the future. Thanks so much, Tanya. Off to Maddie.
Afternoon, everyone. I'm Maddie Chayka, Assistant to the Acting Commissioner, and I've also been helping out with all things ARP-ESSER around the department. So thanks for joining us.
Wonderful. And with that, we are very excited to present to you today the first topic, creating the road to success for students in the classroom and creating pathways for workforce development. So Molly and Shannon, we will hand it off to you.
Thank you so much, Tanya, and thank you to Maddie and Keith as well. Hi, everyone. My name is Molly Thomas. I am a Senior Policy Advisor at the new Connecticut Office of Workforce Strategy, and I'm joined by Shannon Marimone from Ready CT, one of our closest nonprofit partners. Shannon, do you want to say hello quickly?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here, and I look forward to talking a bit more in just a bit.
Thanks, Shannon. So really happy to be here with you all today. First, I'd like to just thank Tanya and Maddie and Keith for creating this opportunity, and thank you also to Commissioner Russell Tucker for giving our office this platform to speak with you all today. I have 10 years of experience working in education. Most recently, my last couple of bosses have been superintendents, and I think you all have some of the most important and interesting and hardest work in the world. So I have so much respect for you, and I hope that we can have a presentation that is useful for you today. So we're here to talk to you today about workforce development in schools and why we think that it's a really important element of our students' learning in K-12 education. To do that today, we're going to give you a brief overview of both my office and the Governor's Workforce Council. Shannon's going to introduce her organization, which is Ready CT. And we're going to talk about why this work matters, why workforce development belongs in schools, what are the elements of a strong workforce program within a school system. We have a case study example for you, and then Shannon's going to speak a bit more about some of her organization's programming and how she can support you. We'll finish it out with cost and impact, which are, I know, I'm sure on everyone's minds right now, and then we'll have time for a Q&A at the end. So I want to start really by introducing my office. We are the newest and smallest state agency within Connecticut. We were first brought into an existence 18 months ago by Governor Lamont's executive order. And then just a few weeks ago, we were actually signed into legislation so that we are now not just an office of executive order, but we're signed into law and we're here for good and we're here to serve you. So very excited about that. But we were brought about into existence because Governor Lamont very passionate about workforce development and building out strong workforce systems across the state. And he felt that there needed to be sort of a marriage between school systems at the K-12 and post-secondary level, as well as industry and the nonprofit sector. Having this group all come together under the umbrella of what we call the Governor's Workforce Council in order to drive forward systems change in terms of bringing about strong career opportunities for students and job seekers. Our office, the Office of Workforce Strategy, is the staff to that Governor's Workforce Council. And so we're a small but mighty team that really tries to drive all of this work forward in partnership with other key stakeholders like yourselves. And so There are a few ways that we think that we can support you. One is by convening industry partners who can come together and say, what is it that they really need at the end of a K-12 school system? What is it that they're looking for in high school graduates as they move on to what's next, whether that be college or career or some sort of a training or certificate program. The second is that we'd like to help you cultivate action-oriented partnerships with employers, nonprofits, and post-secondary partners, and to help curate for you resources as you think about your own workforce strategy in schools, and really bring to the table everything that you need in order to set up these initiatives and set yourself up for success. Shannon, would you like to introduce your organization?
Sure. So Ready CT, we're a statewide nonprofit organization that works very much at the intersection between K-12 education and workforce development. We're the result of the merger of two nonprofits, one that was focused very much on policy and one that was more focused on direct service programs. And so we do a bit of both. Our mission is to focus on academic excellence and also pursue career-connected learning opportunities for all students in the state with a specific focus on the Alliance districts. And we talk about our responsibilities as falling kind of in the 4 Ps. So we do a lot of work around best practices that we try to promote universally across the state that we learn from within the state as well as nationally. We also are continuing to work on the policy levers that allow some of our programming to be possible. So our policy is always grounded in on-the-ground experience that we are having. And the main goal in those policies are to close and narrow and ultimately close the achievement gaps that exist in our state. We also do a lot around public awareness in the education space. And then last but not least, we do a lot of programming work in career pathways and making sure that students have access to relevant, high demand, high career opportunities across the state. And I'll be talking a little bit about one of our specific programs in just a bit. And we are an affiliate of the Connecticut Business and Industry Association, CBIA, which is a really helpful partnership in terms of accessing the business community in ways that are optimally to the advantage of students and their families, and making sure that those career-connected learning opportunities are available to as many students as possible. I'll turn it back to you, Molly.
Thanks, Shannon. And the last thing I'll say about Ready CT is that it's really one of our closest and strongest nonprofit partners, and really critical to the work of the Governor's Workforce Council. Shannon is actually my co-chief administrative officer for the education committee within the Governor's Workforce Council. So her work is really instrumental to everything we do, and we think she does great work. So back to why we're here. So we in the Office of Workforce Strategy believe that workforce development begins in school systems and it really lasts through a lifetime. We think that educational institutions are essential partners in building out the workforce that Connecticut needs. And in doing so, creating accessible and equitable pathways towards in-demand jobs. So really thinking about at the K-8 and the high school level, what are the foundational knowledge and skills that students need to succeed upon graduation, whether that be going onto a post-secondary institution, a career training and development center, or directly into their career. At the K-8 and the high school level, what that looks like a lot is around exposure. So helping students see what their future could look like upon graduation one day. At the K-8 level, that's a lot of things like having demonstrations from employers in schools, or having opportunities to link your core knowledge and your core curriculum to what comes next one day. At the high school level, we're doing all of those things, but we're also adding career pathways coursework, career and technical education coursework, work-based learning opportunities, things like internships, pre-apprenticeship opportunities, and really mentoring students to think critically about what comes next and what steps they need to take in order to get there. And we think all of this is very much connected to the context of why we're all here today, which is thinking about how we're spending the American Rescue Plan Act dollars that I know that are coming your way. And I really think that there's a strong connection here to the events of this past year. I think that workforce development programming is a way of delivering rigorous applied instruction in all content areas. So it could be your reading or math, or it could be your CTE courses. It could be in any area. Second, I think it's a really important tool for re-engaging students who may have become disengaged or less engaged throughout the past year, and say to them, you know, this is a really clear value add and a really clear reason to be coming back to school and being really focused on what comes next after school. And the third reason is it's a pathway to economic security. Again, no matter what comes next, whether that be college or career or training, this is the pathway towards helping students become self-sufficient adults that we all know we would like them to be one day. Three main areas I'd like to focus on today. And I should say there are many, many ways of infusing workforce programming and infusing career awareness into schools. In a 30-minute presentation, I can only focus on three, unfortunately. So the first, focusing on industry-aligned coursework. This could be kind of your typical, what you think of in terms of a career and technical education courses, or it could be career pathways programming. This primarily for high school age level, though we have seen some middle schools do this well as well. So it could be programming with a series of courses in the healthcare space, manufacturing, technology, business and entrepreneurship, or other large and growing sectors across the state, where you're really partnering with industry in order to understand, okay, what are the necessary skills upon graduation? What are the curriculum and the courses that we should be offering in order to set students up for success in those spaces? Second is work-based learning. And this is, again, sort of a continuum based on the age level of the student. At the younger grade levels, that looks like having employers come into schools and offer information sessions and demonstrations, perhaps field trips and site visits. And as students get older, that's things like formal mentorship programs, internships, and pre-apprenticeships. And then lastly is college and career advising. We are a workforce-focused office, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're looking for every single high school graduate to go straight into career. We think it's really important that students receive sort of holistic support around planning for what comes next and thinking about what's right for them. So that could look like supporting your school counselors on site with the resources that they need in order to provide these services well. It could also mean bringing in sort of a core of volunteer mentors from industry who are supporting students through this process, or leveraging nonprofit partners who also do this work well. I'd like to talk to you a bit now about one high school in the state that we think is doing this work really well. That's Hartford Public High School. And I should say this is one of many. There are many high schools and there are many, many districts across the state that are doing really fantastic work in terms of workforce programming, but I just wanted to use this one case study to bring it to life. And Shannon was going to tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure, thanks, Molly. So Ready CT as an organization, as I mentioned, we support career pathway programming at the school and district levels, and we've been very much focused on Hartford Public Schools. Actually, this program in particular goes back to 2008, and it was actually initiated by a sponsorship from United Technologies, which is now Raytheon Technologies, in partnership with the school district and with CBIA, our affiliate, and we have since kind of taken over the direct role as intermediary. And it subscribes to the NAF model, which is the National Academy Foundation. That is an organization at the national level that's been around for about 40 years. And they actually use a framework for career pathways that runs from grades 9 through 12. It's very practical, and it helps us kind of create guide rails for how we do the work in our programming, whether it's under a formal NAF model or otherwise. So in Hartford Public Schools High School's case, the theme of the academy or pathway is engineering and green technology. And it has the components that Molly referenced already. So the industry aligned coursework is critical, and that is informed very heavily by an industry advisory board that is based at the school. You know, pre-COVID, we would meet monthly at the school, and very much had this sense that the board had sort of taken the pathway very much under its wing and saw it as an investment in not only the students currently, but also the long-term development of their workforce as they were thinking of it from the employer or higher education perspective. The typical advisory board is about 80% business representation and 20% community-based organizations or higher education institutions. And it's just really the heart and soul of the pathway relative to the interactions with students and educators at the school. The work-based learning continuum is a major component of the pathway, and that follows really a clear continuum of going from awareness to exploration to direct preparation and application of your learning. So presuming you have strong coursework in place that's aligned to industry and has integrated industry recognized credentials, then we want to make sure that there's work-based learning opportunities where students can actually apply that learning in the real world. And it starts out with things that are more exploratory, kind of just more awareness, and then exploratory around things like speaker series, job shadow opportunities. We do actually move even into the elementary and middle school levels because we want to make sure students earlier on know that these pathways exist at this particular school as well as other schools that we support. And so we're constantly bringing that awareness piece into the fold, and then we layer on top of that with the exploration. And then ultimately, all students who go through this particular program culminate with a 120-hour paid internship experience, which is aligned to the theme of the pathway, the engineering and green technology theme. So we typically aim to place 100 to 125 students a year in those internship opportunities, and we very much support the student and the employer on both sides so that it's a positive experience both ways. And then for college and career advising, this is kind of all hands on deck. It's very much a collective responsibility approach. We are embedded at the school as a partner, but we also work hand in glove with the school counselors, with the principal, with the assistant principals, with the content area faculty, and with the families. And we're always making sure there's an awareness of what this program is, what it entails, what the opportunities are, so that all students have the opportunity to take advantage of it at whatever stage they kind of come across the pathway. So they can kind of come to it sooner in the 8th to 9th grade stage, or they could come to it possibly a little bit later into their high school experience. And so the advising piece is critical, as is the mentorship. And the mentorship comes from all those partners in the school, as well as the industry advisory board members and their extended network, which serve as mentors from outside of the school. And we're in the go-between to make sure that all these different resources and stakeholders are able to connect to the students and provide them with as many great opportunities as possible. And the only thing I did want to mention that you did say, Molly, about the career pathway work as a critical tool for engaging otherwise disengaged students, that is something that we saw very much this past year, that students that were part of the Pathways program were much more connected and engaged with their coursework across the board compared with students who were not in the pathway. So I think it did create a sense of relevance and like purpose. Why am I learning what I'm learning, and where is it going to take me? This is kind of what we've seen with the pathway work, is that it's very inspired learning for students and keeps them engaged when they might be otherwise. So next slide is a quick overview of just some of our other programming efforts. As the slide says, we strive very much to better align the educational system with the world of work and the future of work, and we're constantly doing that through a number of initiatives at the more local level as well as at the statewide level. Just mention these very quickly. Our Manufacturing Skills for Connecticut effort is actually a wide-ranging research study of all the pathway programs in Connecticut that prepare students for careers in advanced manufacturing. We're doing a very comprehensive inventory of all the existing pathway programs in the state currently, and then we're going to be doing we're currently doing a deep review with WestEd as a partner of a subset of those programs to understand kind of what makes them tick, what makes them really successful, and where could there be room for improvement, or would you want to consider kind of shoring it up if you are either refining an existing program or standing up a new program? And then the last phase of the project, which will culminate next year, is a online repository of all the resources for school districts, employers, students, families to access and utilize as they think about those program opportunities for themselves. The CS4CT steering committee effort is our role in supporting the statewide computer science education plan, which was adopted by the State Board of Ed last June 2020. And that is to ensure that all students in the state of Connecticut have access to and participate in computer science education, since as a content area, it is the highest growing content area and function within the workforce. I believe 71% of all new positions coming online have some piece of them that relates to computer science. So we want to ensure that all students have access to that core content area. Educator externships is an exciting program that really gets educators out into the world of work so that they can understand what is happening in the high growth, high demand industry areas and bring that learning with them back to the classroom and incorporate it into their curriculum. We work with the Connecticut Science Center and the Connecticut State Department of Education on one particular program, and we're looking to possibly launch a second externship program because of the demand and interest in that. So please stay tuned for more information there. And then Student 5.0 is a career launch program that we started last year in response to COVID. And it specifically supports students who've already graduated from high school, but who do not yet have a post-secondary plan. And we want to support those individuals. We know that there's somewhere between 10 and 12,000 students a year who graduate from high school, but do not show up at a 2 or 4 year college experience. And so we want to figure out where are those students and what kind of opportunities have been provided for them to succeed. And so Student 5.0 provides them with that support to develop their own personalized career and learning plan, and then up to 12 months of support so that they can actually operationalize that plan. That program is actually fully funded for the class of 2021. And we are enrolling as we speak. So if you know any students who could benefit from Student 5.0, that application is live and taking applications currently. And then all that to say, the career pathway work, which is as described in the case study, is something that we do mostly in the Hartford area, but we are starting to expand into other parts of the state, and would be happy to talk with any district who is interested in what that might look like as it would be contextualized to their location. So very much looking forward to further conversation and some Q&A at the end of the presentation.
Thanks, Jenna. So last, I'd like to chat with you all about a bit about sort of the cost and impact of this work. And I want to start with several caveats that this absolutely depends. It depends on the size of your district, the number of high schools and middle schools you have, the number of students that you serve. It also depends on the type of career pathways programming you're interested in. Some sectors tend to be more expensive than others, depending on sort of the cost of curriculum and the cost of sort of the facilities and materials required. And then the last piece being around sort of creative use of resources. I'm a former public school teacher. I'm also a former school district sort of administrator. So I understand that we have to be creative where we can, and it's not all about these federal dollars. So one value add that I think our office has is that we're able to sort of help you identify what existing resources you already have in order to help you kind of fulfill your ambitions. So if you're interested in a manufacturing pipeline programming, how can you work with the manufacturing firms in your area and the plants in order to potentially find some synergies and support there. Similarly, finding support from other employers that could give access to their facilities, could access to their materials, or do other sort of in-kind supports. So there are large numbers on here, but there are ways to kind of drive the cost down. The second piece to this cost model is really having either someone in-house in your school district central office or within your school building who is doing a lot of this coordination. So overseeing the work-based learning programming, overseeing curricular decisions, providing training and support to your educators who are leading this work. or there's the opportunity to centralize that at the central office, depending on the size of your district, or even outsourcing and having a consultant come in, ranging from either just sort of front-end supports all the way through kind of holding hand and working with you throughout the whole process. So there is definitely a low, medium, and high cost element to this work, depending on sort of choosing your own adventure, what makes the most sense for you. And I think that our office, as well as folks like Shannon and her team, would be able to kind of sort of walk you through what that looks like and what makes the most sense for your district. We are working on developing a menu of strategies and supports with more comprehensive kind of cost breakdown that will be coming out in the coming weeks. So I think that will be also an effective tool for you as you continue to map out your own resources. So finishing up here with about a minute to spare, so feeling pretty good about that. Thanks, Tanya. Happy to turn it over to Q&A, but if you have any thoughts or comments that you want to give before that, Tanya, I'll pass it over to you.
Awesome, thank you so much. We want to be very conscious of the time that you guys have. I know it's not very much, so I just want to give you a few more housekeeping things, and then you're free to jump off, but Molly and Shannon have both offered to stay and answer questions real time if you have them. So thank you so much for joining us, because I think that this is a really incredible once in a lifetime opportunity to really reimagine what our schools look like in order to transform students' lives. And it's not easy, and it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of thinking about the cliff and how to avoid it and how to work with our local communities. And I think that all the ideas we just heard are really wonderful ways to start and to serve the unique needs of our students and those disproportionately impacted by COVID. If you've seen the application, we made sure that was all over the place in EGMS, and that's because it's all in the federal guidelines by ARP ESSER as well. So this will be saved and posted online under the ARP ESSER page, as well as a really nice one-pager. So if you're talking to folks in your district, you can even just show them the summary points. Thanks to Molly and Shannon for putting that together. Those are all online. If you have questions, you can obviously stay right now and ask. You can also directly reach out to these two offices or our inbox, sde.arpesser@ct.gov, and we will help you. We're all in this together. I know it's a very short timeline, but I think that if we keep a communication going, then we're going to come up with something quite beautiful. And with that, I thank you so much for your time. If you have to jump, we understand, but if you have questions, we will open the floor for questions.
Thanks, Tanya. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. I do actually have two more housekeeping items on my end. One, we have a short participation survey. I'm trying to find the chat. I'm having a little trouble there, but I'll get that to you in just a second. And the second is that if there's interest from this group, we would like to hold additional office hours to go deeper on any of these topics. So if you're looking at a specific career pathway programming in one sector, say healthcare or manufacturing, and you want to learn more, we can put together another webinar outside of this series for you all. Similarly, if you have questions about cost modeling or really anything else that we talked about, you want to learn more about NAF, you want to learn more about career counseling, we can put together another sort of more informal conversation with other districts who have similar interests. Tanya, can you help me out with the chat really fast? And I had seen it. Oh, there it is. It's blinking at the bottom, maybe. Here we go.
Yeah, so it should be posted in there. If you guys follow that link, there's an opportunity to also specify what you're interested in so that you can have a little bit of support as you plan the use of these funds.
All right, I'm seeing I can send it to organizers and panelists only.
It's okay, Molly, I dropped it in there for you actually. So it's
there you go. All right, Tanya's on top of it. Great. So yeah, happy to take questions from the group if there are any. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
We're also joking, we really hope you guys are actually eating lunch and using this as a lunch and learn, and so that's why you're not asking questions. I know getting a chance to feed yourself is tough when you have this much going on.
Is the only way for them to, they just can only put something in the chat, right?
Correct, yeah, so you can write it, and we can also unmute you if you would like to say it out loud. maybe we've got lots to think about, but you all will have their information to reach out to them directly. As well, like I said, you can reach out to us at SDE for anything ARP-ESSER related. It is a really cool thing to know that we're a part of history and changing schools, and it's very daunting. So thank you so much for all of your help and your time and being here. And Molly and Shannon, we really appreciate you helping us kick off the Spark Innovation series. We hope you guys will join us again on Thursday, same time, 12 to 12:30. And we're going to be inspired by the great work that was done with ESSER 2 and sort of how you can amplify and expand that work. So with that, we'll close for today, and thank you guys for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you Thursday and then every Tuesday and Thursday for the remainder of the month. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.